Do you get rain?
You have 2 batteries in the back.
One.
Just one. So I can talk to you after about that. The ACR add a battery, it segregates the system really nicely.
If all you really, is it rain? Does it look like vertical lines? Or does it just,
I don't see the fish.
you just,
It looks like there's no fish in the water.
do you see bottom very well? Do you see bottom well?
Yep.
Yeah, and what kind of trolling motor is it?
Garmin Force.
And it's the inside, you're using the transducer in the Garmin Force?
Yep. For the front one. And then the transducer from the back for the helix.
But
Not
it's,
carrying the transducer.
You know what you should do? Take pictures of when it's happening and turning the unit on and off at the front, at the back. And then also try to do it, record a video with a frequency change, because it literally could be something as simple as the frequency or something as weird as the Garmin itself, because it is wireless too. It could have interference within the Garmin itself. Just grounding or whatever. I know Minn Kotas are famous for grounding issues and having like a, what's the word? Where it starts to corrode.
Oxidized?
Yeah.
Oxidation?
Yeah, it gets like a electrolysis. Electrolysis. Yeah, it gets an electrolysis in it, and usually a grounding issue somewhere within the trolling motor, and that will also throw the units off too.
I have a question for you, Joe. So I've recently put side imaging sonar on my trolling motor up front, and I want to put forward facing. Can I just use a traditional 2D sonar, rig it up with a special bracket and mount it and shoot it forward too?
No.
It wouldn't work?
No. You gotta, the frequencies, one, are different, and two, if you shoot that forward, that transducer's built to see bottom. So it's
the element.
yeah, like it's,
So it wouldn't work?
yeah, it's just, it's not built that way. And so when you look at a forward-facing transducer,
Should have brought one.
yeah, we should have had like a little picture one. So it has cone angles, right? So you have forward, which is basically kind of like that. That's your cone angle on a forward.
I don't
Or
know
I
if
should
they could-
I should say it's kind of like this actually, for the most part. It goes out back a bit and then forward, and then when you put it into scout
Can you guys
mode,
see that?
Yeah.
Can you see that? Can you see the kind of the array that it's shooting? That's a forward facing. So you can
Goes
see it's very
back.
it's very minimal back, but the most of it is shooting forward. And how that works too, another key factor guys don't understand too is a lot of people think 20 degrees as that and that 135. The 20 degree is what you're seeing at that tightest point, but directly below. Your larger array is your forward array. Because I get that a lot. People always ask me like, well, it's only 20. How do I see anything with a 20? Like, how the heck are you seeing 500 feet away with a 20-degree beam angle? And the way it breaks down is, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember all these numbers, but I think it's 7 feet every 100. So for every 100 feet you go forward, that beam opens up 7 feet.
7 feet. So it's a
So if you can
angle.
envision, by the time you get out to about 400
Yeah.
feet, your beam is quite wide.
It's quite wide. For like guys that are fishing like us, you're looking at like a 4-foot window, 5-foot window below your boat, right? The depth on the water column obviously matters. And then if you put it in like a scout mode or a
Oh, there it is right there.
perspective,
That's your beam angle right there. You can
yeah.
see it there.
So perspective, you're gonna get like out. So you're gonna see kind of the beam's gonna go this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, your traditional, and just if you looked at the transducers themselves, the frequencies and the way they're built, they're just not, it's just not gonna work. Honestly, your best bet is to, if you wanna get into the forward-facing sonar game, with all these new generations coming out, is just buy the LVS 32, active target 1, systems. If you're a Lowrance guy, then get Lowrance. But the problem is you got to remember they're only compatible with certain units. So when you buy a forward-facing sonar, You got to have the compatible unit for it to work, because your older units doesn't have the software in it to read that data. Does that make sense? A lot of guys call me and they're like, hey, I bought a, you know, whatever, can you install it on my boat? I'm like, yeah, sure, we can do that. What are we putting it to? Oh, I got an old, you know, HDS Gen 1 9, or I got a, and it's just like, no, you gotta go to an FS or a Live and a Pro, right? So you gotta make sure that technology is compatible with the units that you have on your boat.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
So back to the charging. Have you looked into, like, none of us don't have shore power or anything like that. I can't take
Yeah.
our batteries up to our house every day. So I'm on the dock all summer.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at solar charging system on board. Have you looked at anything like that?
Yeah, I've had some guys.
I run 227.
Yeah, like I have a couple of guys that have cottages like that too,
Yeah.
and they've bought, can't remember the name of the company off by heart, but there's a company out there that had, he bought a package, a lithium battery with a solar panel with it, and it was like marine rated, and he uses it in his fishing boat up north, and that's how he charges it, from a solar panel. You don't have like an onboard charger on your boat?
I do with my big motor, but my trolley motor separate.
Yeah, but like an onboard battery charger, I mean like
No.
no? And so that would be my thing, is if you can get an extension cord to your dock, is to put an onboard charger on your boat. Yeah. Because I know guys like to use trickle chargers on their batteries.
Yeah.
They're terrible for your batteries.
Well, you can get like a 30-watt solar panel that just keeps it up to date.
Yeah, but the thing is with that, the thing with that is, so this guy's package had a convert, like a power management system with the solar panel that knew when to shut the charging off so it didn't overcharge the battery. You get where I'm going with that? Like, because I've seen some guys want to just toss a solar panel on their deck of their boat and then run it into their battery, and that's not a good move. So that there is companies out there, I wish I could remember the name of it, that they do have like a marine battery.
30-watt panel, it's just not cutting it.
Regarding interference,
Mm-hmm.
how far is it preferred to spread the frequency? We've been playing around with frequency on two side-by-side units,
Mm-hmm.
trying to spread it. We get intermittent vertical lines
Yeah, the rain,
that show up and gone. Yeah, the rain.
that's depth.
That's depth.
Yeah, I get the same thing. So what happens is, shallower water, you probably don't see it.
We've been trying to look at all the options.
Okay.
I can't tell you. How
Okay, so if shallower water, you don't see it, and you see it when you go into deeper water, that's the cone angles actually crossing. That's what you're actually seeing. So that means that you're actually getting, the cones are getting big enough, because remember your cone grows as you get deeper.
We've got a side and down beside, and we've been playing with the frequencies, trying to
On which unit? Like what brand?
hummingbird.
Hummingbird.
Probably crossing.
They're definitely,
We
they're
figure that.
100% they're crossing.
We've changed frequencies like crazy trying to.
But the problem, even if you change frequency, the cone angle's still crossing.
They're
That's
still
what the- you know what I
crossing.
mean? That's what you don't understand. That it gets so, it's. I know sometimes it's almost counterintuitive when you have too much technology. That's you know,
That's
there's
what we're saying.
There's
is-
too many things, so that's why
Yeah.
yes, a lot of times people. That's why I kind of put some images up here if you guys want to come up after and have a look. But people really don't realize how big the bottom of your cone angle can get, especially for trollers in deeper water, right? When you're shallow, bass guys in near shore stuff, you know, you're not fishing super
Yeah.
deep water, you might not see it. But especially for trollers, when that cone angle gets down to 200 feet deep, you know, you could be a few hundred feet wide near the bottom, right? So if you're running multiple arrays and different sonars, it's very often that they will cross, and you'll have that issue. And I see that a lot with side imaging, which I don't run.
Martin, depending on what your units are, Martin will try to find you a transducer that does both. Right? Because that's what you're saying is you have
Yeah, I
your
got two. I
yeah,
got a
right,
down
you're-
image transducer and a side image.
insanity. Yeah, so get a transducer that does both, and
Yeah,
then
multi.
then they're not running. So that was the huge caveat years ago with Lowrance, having a 3-in-1, because it had side imaging, down imaging, and traditional sonar all built into one. And it was, the way it worked was it was able to tune out the frequencies because of the technology in the
You
transducer.
can run the two sonars at the same
You can
time
run all
off of
three
one
at the same.
transducer.
I run all three off the same.
But
and
is
I-
it not like, not for nothing, I'm just saying, depends on your application.
Applications.
Because there is like the whole 3-in-1 concept is also, I don't want to say gimmicky, but there's benefits to having 2 transducers that actually physically do 2 different things. Because when you kind of combine 3 into 1, you're kind of marrying a bunch of stuff and you're kind of giving away some things too, right? Because a lot of time you're using certain aspects of a transducer, like a multi-beam transducer, where it's one element that's doing 3 things versus 2 separate elements that are designed different and do 2 different things, right? So it depends on your application. There is a strong benefit sometimes to having 2 transducers, but again, all on your application. If you're going to be fishing deeper or shallower water, you may have an issue. Or if your beam's not wide enough on your boat, those are where you start getting into
musky guys, right?
Yeah.
though,
We
so.
fish a 400-kilometer radius,
Yeah.
wherever the water is.
Yeah, so
Georgian
like,
Bay to
what 2
St.
units
Clair.
are they?
Pardon?
What units are they?
Helix 10s.
Helix 10s on bow and console.
I got 3 of them. I got a Gen 3 on the bow on an MDI,
Yeah.
right off the motor, and then I run a Gen 4's, an SI, and down image. Beside
Okay,
it.
so you bought the 2 units and then each one came with transducers,
Yeah.
so you just put the
Yeah.
2 transducers on the boat?
Yeah.
I gotta look, Martin probably knows, he does Humminbird more than I do. I'd have to look at the compatibility chart, but I'm pretty sure you can just get a transducer and just only have one on that and you won't have an
Okay.
issue.
And just not to tie it up, but in further to that question about interference, is there much likelihood, we spent a lot of time seeing that it was wired what everybody believes is correct, but is there much of a chance of interference from the power wires to the Humminbirds being affected by the proximity of battery cables or anything else like that?
Not really, it's,
They're all shielded, but
it's-
They sell those isolators for.
yeah, like
Or
I
Humminbird too.
use it, like you can buy ferrite rings.
they're still applicable, are they?
Yeah, ferrite rings are great. A lot of guys run them on their forward-facing sonar transducers just because of the frequency's so high and the transducer's just a higher performing transducer. It's less unlikely that you get it out of like your lower frequency transducers, right? Just a simple like, tell me what you have, but do you have those units all wired individually to your battery?
They go through a dedicated fuse block we put in purposely
Yeah.
for sonar only.
So this is the thing. We can be here in an hour tangent on draw, like battery
Look at
on.
your number and
Yeah,
see if
yeah, but there's a bunch of different issues or things. The idea is just think of when you wire stuff, it's like hydraulics, like flow. Electricity needs to flow, right? So if you start putting in fuse blocks and junctions and stuff like that, that's resistance. So you're adding resistance into the system, which is slowing how things down on how they work. And if you don't get things running at the highest speed or the best performance, then you start to see a lot of interference issues and stuff going on and just weird things, right? So guys wire things totally. Every installer does it differently. My thought in my head and my thought process is that. So when I wire,
Ours is 6 to the block and 8 to everything.
yeah, so 6 to the block is great. If you ran six to your block, eliminated your block and just had fuse holders, right? Or take 6 to your block and then have a little, like Rangers have like a little power post, a positive and a negative power post, and then they have another 6 that goes to their bow from there. That works, but then that only has a certain amount of capacity, right? Because total amount of amps per run, so you have a capacity there. But you with 6 to yours, which is more than enough on a 3-unit system, and then from there have a
We're
little.
really running at 2 feet.
Exactly.
Block, and then
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying is you could probably just eliminate a block because your block could have interference because there's a ground side and a power side in that block too, and there could be an issue in there too, right? So that's the thing. When I go to fuse holders, like inline fuse holders, I eliminate any of that. Okay? If that gives you there's a couple of different things.
Great question and lots more information there.